It's not going to work at first, and the reason for that is the bigger you are, the harder it gets because the more people you have to move through. That's how you get big, because no one ever built anything big by themselves. In order to build a business, you need two things. And these two things are developed over time and usually through trial and error, which is why it's so difficult to build a business. And that is context and contrast. So when you are taking new actions to build your business and you're trying to calibrate what's working and what's not working, it isn't until something works that you say, I figured out how to do it. And now you have context. And when you try to do something and you fail and it's not working, now you have contrast. So what happens in the building process is you're making lots of curated decisions all day long relative to sales, marketing, operations, finance, people, leadership, strategy. And sometimes they work and sometimes they don't work. Well, the issue is as your business is getting bigger and it goes through the breakpoints, 1 million, 3 million, 8 million, 15 million, 25 million, the width of that decision-making process and the number of people involved now where you're getting inputs from multiple people, the decision-making becomes much more difficult because you're uncertain which of the 15 elements that you listen to across the 10 people explaining things and which one did and which one did not work. So what happens is you start to create this belief system that when things work, it's because you guys did it right, and when things are broken, it's because it doesn't work. The truth is, when things work, it's because you figured out how to make something work, and when things don't work, you didn't figure out how to make it work. And if you embrace that as the reality versus it won't work, then what happens is you don't suppress your belief lid. So when John Maxwell talks about the law of the lid, if you recall, there's 3 lids in scaling a business. You have your belief lid, you have your operational effectiveness lid, and you have your leadership lid. And inside of your leadership lid, you have your me leadership, your we leadership, and your us leadership. And what that means is when you're $3 million or less, it's all about you. You got to have the leadership. And when you move to 8 million, it's all about you. You're going to be dragging everybody and pulling them along and trying to get them to all do their thing. But in order to get from 8 to 15 million, it has to move from you to 2 additional people helping you, which is the rule of 3. And if you don't have 3 people and you try to go to 15 million, your business will statistically break because you don't have enough people pulling all those other people behind you. And John Maxwell also talks about law of chain. And just imagine that your chain is linked to every single employee, to another employee, to another employee, to another employee, and you're pulling everybody up this big hill, and all of a sudden 2 people come alongside you because they have enough belief in you. They come along at 8 million and they start helping you pull, and you're like, oh, finally, someone's helping me. And if you try to go from 8 to 15 million without the 3 people pulling, you will eventually wear out and get pulled backwards, which is called a slip back, and most likely break. So when you take and you think about how you should be making decisions, what is the process for decision making? And when you try things and they don't work, instead of saying they don't work, change your language to we didn't do it right. Because in our experience, and all the research shows that when business owners take action and they get a negative result, it's higher probabilities they did it wrong than the thing didn't work. And so that's where you start to get this context and contrast. And how you build the muscle for this is first, why are you doing something? And then you visualize what that outcome looks like. That way you have a target. Now, while you're moving to target, you have to create understanding. And this is where you're going to gain context and contrast, is little micro decisions that are turning your why into reality. It's not going to work at first. It's going to be clunky at first. It's going to be difficult at first. And the reason for that is the bigger you are, the harder it gets because the more people you have to move through. And this then goes into the law of addition, which as you're adding people, if they don't understand your why and they don't understand the target, they don't know how to support it. So they get lost in the journey. And so once there's understanding and you start practicing and having little successes, little failures, because you don't want to practice too much too fast, which is why you don't want to try to grow too fast. And too fast isn't more than 10% a year. Too fast could be more than 50% or 100% a year. So I just want to make sure you understand that 8% to 12% growth is not success. It's mediocrity, by the way. So a lot of people get confused with how they set their targets for growth. Now, as you're gaining this context and contrast, you're gaining understanding and you're documenting it and you're training it, because it's now through consistency where you get the multiplier effect. The more you do it, the water over rocks, the less resistance you have, the more you figure out, the more people believe it, the easier it is to see it, the easier it is to train it, because it works, it's the same, it's always the same, it always works, and everyone has high belief that if you do this, you're going to get this result. Now, once you figure that out, you need to replicate it through other people. You have to go out and duplicate what you have already proven works. That's the operational effectiveness lid. So once you figure it out, it's consistent. Now the next technical move is teaching others to do it until they're consistent, getting the same targeted result. And you're going to have to build your business one human being, one person at a time, and you're going to have to connect the chain to them and be at the front of that, which is going to be difficult for you as a me leader, and that usually gets you to 3 million. It might get you to 4 and 5, but eventually you need to get a couple people coming around on your wings and you become we leaders. You're all pulling in the same direction with the stated objective. You're not trying to do the same thing. You're not tripping over each other. You're running everything. Someone is the visionary, is like, here's where we're going. Here's why we're doing it. Here's the kind of people that are going to help us. Here's what the big picture looks like. Then you're going to have the operator, the integrator, making sure you're crossing your T's and dotting your I's, and people are set up for success, and your training's in place and they understand what they're doing. And then you're going to have your builder to go out and get more clients, more customers, more people. And along that process, you're going to target $250,000 to $500,000 of revenue per employee, so that every time you add someone, the business needs to do $250,000 to $500,000 more revenue. That's going to drive 15 to 40% profitability within your business, and you're just going to continue to do that 20-mile march to 3 million, then to 8 million, then to 15 million, then to 25 million. And that's how you get big, because no one ever built anything big by themselves.